Okay, I want to talk about how you can integrate local storage with React. So I have a simple application here. I'm writing out three base numbers. In my state at the app level, at the top level, I've got an array that's got three numbers. These numbers could be anything, but I'm writing out those three numbers. Each one of them is inside of a component of its own. When I click on one of the buttons for the item, I am going to save that number in local storage as part of an array. So I click on 21. There we go. In local storage for localhost, I've got my nums. That's the key. And there's an array with the number 21 inside. If I click this one, now I've got 21 and 11. They're both saved inside of here. If I click on 31, it would be in there as well. The add an item, this works on the state that's up at the top level, the app, where all these numbers, 11, 21, and 31, are saved. When I click add, I'm looking for the highest number in here. I'm incrementing that and adding a new item. So you can see I keep adding and it will keep incrementing. Now if I click on one of those, this number gets saved inside of here as well. If the page gets refreshed, and this is the whole point of local storage, is that you can remember it when the user comes back. When I refresh it now, I get those base numbers that are there every time I load, but now I've also got 33 because that was saved in local storage. I click a couple more times, 34, 35. I'm going to save 34 in there. So now I've got these four numbers. When I refresh, I get the base 3 plus the two others that I saved. Okay, so let's look at how we build this. I'll jump into brackets, and at the app level, here's my state in my constructor with the three base numbers. I have my button where I'm going to call a function called addNum. This is the one that's going to look inside of my array that's in local storage, not just this one, but the one that's in local storage, find the highest number, increment it, and add one to this items array. I have my own built-in function here for sorting because I'm doing a numeric, not a string sort. So I'm just comparing the two numbers, returning -1, 1, or 0. This will let JavaScript sort them numerically, whatever I've got in local storage. So I'm not going to touch that one. My conditional rendering that I've got down here, I'm doing a map, an array map through this items array, and I'm writing out all the items that we have inside of here. All right, now I'm going to delete all the code that I've got here because we're going to recreate this. I've got comments on what we're going to do inside of each one of them. addNum, I was just talking about. So we get the sorted items from state, take these, call sort on them to make sure that they're sorted. We're going to find the highest number, increment it, and update state. Add from local storage, well, when component did mount, this is the lifecycle method that we need to wait for when we want to read local storage. Just like working with Ajax. With Ajax, you have to wait for component did mount. Then you can make your Ajax call, fetch the data, bring it back, and put it into state. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to check local storage, look for the array. If it's there, we're going to parse the array and then call add from local storage. We're going to call this method once. I could have put this inside of here, but I'm just going to pass the numbers one at a time as we read them from local storage into here. It will then add the numbers to this array, sort the array, make sure there's no duplicates, and then update state. Okay, so that's the app level. In the items themselves, we just have two. One is save num. So when I click on the button that's inside of there, I want to save it. So I'm going to toggle this is saved to true. That's my trigger that updates the class name. That's just going to give us the background color. But we also want to take whatever this number is and put it into local storage. So inside of here, we're going to save the number in local storage. Let me delete all this. I'll leave that last line for updating is saved. But we're going to save the number in local storage by getting the current values from local storage. If there is something in local storage, we're going to parse it, add our current number to it, remove any duplicates, and then update the array that's in local storage. If it doesn't exist, so there's no key in local storage, then we're going to create a brand new array, add our number to that array so it'll be the only thing in the array, and then we're going to update local storage. And then the final step is updating our state here, which triggers the change to add the CSS class name, which makes it yellow. component did mount, this is the thing where now we're allowed to look at local storage. So we're going to look to see if our current number is inside of local storage. So I'll leave those first two lines because we can start with that. All right, component did mount. That means we have rendered the initial state of this. We've used whatever's up inside of state, whatever came through in props, and that's what we're rendering now. Now I want to know, should I be changing the background of this to yellow? If it exists in local storage, I do want to do the update. So we're looking for the get item, my nums. If that exists in local storage, like here, my nums exists. So if this exists, I want to look at this array. I need to parse it and say, hey, the number that I am right now, does that exist in local storage? So we can say if nums, that means that the thing called my nums existed in local storage. We need to extract the array from it. So array is going to be json.parse of nums. This will give us the actual array from local storage where this key matches. Now we have an array. We need to know, is that included? So if array dot includes, and then we pass in the number. The number's coming through props. It's also coming in state. I'll use state just because that's what I want to use right now. I could use either one. So if the number that was passed to this item that's being rendered, if that is inside of this array, then we need to update state to say that this value right here should be true. All right, so we'll come in here and we will say this dot set state. And we're going to change is saved to true. Doesn't matter what it was before, we're setting it to true. All right, so we refresh. There we are. So 11, 21, 33, 34, 11, 21, 33, 34, those are the four highlighted ones. What if I update this? What if I come in here and I change this to remove number 33 and number 11? So 21 and 34, those are the only ones. I refresh. 21 and 34, those are the only ones in local storage. Those are the only ones that get the highlighting. All right, so that's working for us. Now, save num. When I click the button, I want to add it to local storage. So this button right here, click to remember me. When I click that, I want to be able to put the number 11 inside of here. So following our method that we have outlined, I'm going to do the same thing at the beginning. We're going to get the item, the array from local storage, if it exists. So if nums else. If it exists, that means there is an array there. If there isn't, we need to add it. We need to create this thing. So let's create a variable here to hold our array. If it does exist, that will be equal to json.parse of nums. If it doesn't exist, then array is just going to be an empty array. There we are. Oops. Don't need that. And we are now going to push into it. So we're going to add to the array this state num. So that number that came through the props. All right. I have now an array that's got that number. If nothing existed in local storage, I've got that. Here, where it does exist in local storage, I'm going to do the same thing. Okay, both ways now. When I click the button, I've gone to local storage. Whether or not it existed, I now have an array called ARR, which has my new number in it. If it did exist before, I've got the old numbers plus the new number. Now, I'm going to remove duplicates, because if I'd been there before, so right now, 21 exists inside of here. When the component did load event runs again, I don't want to add 21 to that every single time and get 14 21s just because I refreshed the page 14 times. So we need to remove the duplicates. The easiest way to remove duplicates from an array is pass the array to a set. A set is a new structure that came out in the latest version of JavaScript, or a couple of years ago. So, a set is a simplified version of an array where there are no duplicates. That's the easiest way to express what it is. So, AR is going to be equal to, I want to take a new set, pass in that array. So that will remove the duplicates, but I'm replacing an array with a set. So I want to make sure I leave it as an array. So we wrap this in array from. I'm taking the array, passing it into a set. That will remove the duplicates, and then I'm converting it back into an array and putting it back into this variable. Now we're going to update local storage. So local storage, here we don't have to remove the duplicates because it's the first one that exists. So set item, my nums, and then the value. I can't just do this. I need to convert this into a string. So we use the json.stringify method, just like that. And then we can do the same thing right here. So if it existed before, we get the old one, add the number, remove the duplicates, and put it back in. Here, we just create a brand new array, add the number, and stick it in. All right, so we should be able to now click on this, and 11 was added. Great, so that's working. Now, our method for add an item. Oh, we didn't save the changes that we did there. Okay, I've removed the functionality now. So add an item does nothing at the moment. We want to call the function addNum down here. So we're calling addNum when the person clicks on the button. This is up in the app component, up at the top level. If they add, we have to find out what we've got in the state items, find the highest number, and increment that. So adding 1 to it. I'm not going to local storage for this because local storage, if it's in local storage, it should already be inside of here. So we'll get the sorted values from items, put these in order. We want to find the highest number. We're going to use the math.max method to do that. And then we're going to increment that number and update the state to put our new number in there. All right, so let's say let items equal this dot state dot items. There we are. This is the highest one. Now we may as well sort it while we're here. This is the array sort method. Now by default, it is going to call this and sort them in a string order. Because we're dealing with numbers, I want to use a numeric sort. That was our built-in method right here, numsort, the one that we created for this purpose. So we're going to pass numsort to the method. There we go. Now we have numerically sorted everything, and that's what this is, the numerically sorted. I want to find the highest number, so I'll create a new variable called max, and we will do math.max. Here we go. Now you can see you pass in a list of params to find out which is the biggest one. Well, why not use destructuring and just take our items array. So we're taking our whole array, items, using destructuring to split it up into an array. We're spreading it into an array, and then I'm going to add 1 to whatever the maximum value is. So that's the find the highest number, increment it. If you want, you can split this into 2 lines. You can say max is equal to plus equals 1 or max plus plus. Either way, it's going to increment the number. Then we're going to update state by adding this into our items array. So items.push max. There, we've now added this to this array. And we'll update state with this.setState items and our new version of the array items. Okay. Add. Oh, we have a problem here. 2 children with the same key, not a number. Yeah, well, problem's not with the key. The problem is that what we're putting inside here is not a number. I don't need to put the, I don't need to have the square brackets around that. There we are. Add the item. There we go. 32, 33, 34. 34 was in local storage, so that's why it came up here. Now, refresh this. I'm back to my 3 original numbers. 34 is in here, but it's not in state. So that'll be our next thing. When component did mount for the app, we need to read through this array, and anything that's not already here, we have to put it in. So that's the part that we're missing right now. Okay, so we can, if we want, condense this down to put the +1 on the same line. That'll do the same thing. There we are. Okay, so component did mount, add from local storage. These are working together. The component did mount. This is where we're going to read local storage, parse the array, and loop through it to call add from local storage. So let's say our items equals local storage dot get item my nums. That was the name from local storage right here. That's the one that we're getting. Okay, and if that exists, then we're going to parse it and start calling add from ls. There we go. Now we have an actual array that came out of local storage because we parsed it. It turned it from the string into the array. With that done, we can loop through it with a for each loop. And for each item in the array, we're going to call this dot add from ls. That's our method that we have right here. So it will accept the number. It's just like doing an arrow function inside of here, but we're going to pass the number up to this. All right, we need to get the items, get the values from state.items. And we want to remove, we want to add our new value into there. We're going to remove the duplicates and sort it, and then update the state. So add the new value, simply a push. There we go, it's added. Now we're going to do the same thing we did on the other page. We're going to use a new set in order to clean out any duplicate values. So we will call items is going to be equal to new set. We pass in num to that, and then we're going to use array from to convert it back into an array. So now this is an array that's got the new item. It's sorted. All the duplicates are removed. And we want to sort it. So we could take array here. It's an array. We can add it onto the end the same way we have up here for our sort. There it is. This.num sort. We're going to call that just like we did above. There we are. Now we have a sorted array. Now we're going to update state same way we always do. So items is going to get the new version of items added to it. So this little bit of code here could have been placed inside the function that goes for the for each right here. I just like to separate it. Gives me reuse if I want, and makes it a little bit cleaner and easier to read. Oh, item not defined. Where did I forget the S? One line 57. Right there, items for each. Not iterable. Oh, yes, of course. This is not the array that we're using. Items is the array. The num was what we were passing in. That's the single number. We want to take the array, turn it into a set to remove. You probably noticed that while I was typing it. Okay, refresh. there we are. Everything that's inside of here is showing up in here, in addition to the 3 that were part of our initial state. Now I can add something, refresh. It doesn't show up because it wasn't in local storage. But if I add, save it to local storage, there it is. Now when I refresh, it will be there. So the 38, now in that array, if I refresh, there we are, 34, 35, 38. And that's it. That is full circle, working with state, working with local storage, working with the lifecycle methods to add it all together. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. If you found this useful, please share it. And as always, thanks for watching.